Okay. Alright, Pre-Cal Honors, Simplifying Trig Identities. I've given you a blue sheet that has all your trig identities listed on it. These should be familiar: sine, cosine, tan, cosecant, secant, cotangent. So we're just going to jump right in. It says find cosine of theta if sine theta equals negative 5 over 13 and tan is greater than 0. Well, sine is negative, but tan is positive. So where is sine negative but tan positive? That's here. Negative, nope. Yeah, that's right. Negative 5, 13, so this would be negative 12. So find cosine, it would be, I just drew that wrong. Curses. Negative 5, negative 12. There we go. Opposite, adjacent, hypotenuse. So cosine would be negative 12 over 13, adjacent over hypotenuse. It says find sine and cosine if tan is 5 and cosine is greater than 0. Well, cosine is greater than 0 in the first and fourth. Tan is positive, so it must be here. So tan is 5 over 1 square root of 26. 1 squared plus 5 squared, 25. Yeah, 26. So find sine. Sine is going to be 5 over the square root of 26, or sometimes we write it as 5 squared root of 26 over 26. And cosine is going to be 1 over the square root of 26, or 1 square root of 26 over 26. Moving on. More identities. These are the cofunction identities and the odd and even identities. Remember that cosine and secant are even functions, and remember that f of x, negative x equals f of x if a function is even. Sine and cosecant are odd, and f of negative x equals negative f of x if they're odd. And tan and cotan appear to be odd as well. They're going to also do the f of negative x equals negative f of x. Okay. New identities, the Pythagorean identities, these need to be committed to memory. Cosine squared plus sine squared equals 1. You'll also see it written 1 minus cosine squared equals sine squared, as well as 1 minus sine squared equals cosine squared. You can do that all the way down. Just manipulate them around to make other identities. Secant squared minus tangent squared equals 1. 1. Let's see, if I will move my tangent, my 1 to the other side. Secant squared minus 1 equals tangent squared. You can make them negative as well. You can do the same thing with this one. So if it asks me to simplify it, my first goal is to write everything in terms of sine and cosine. Well, let's see. I can rewrite cotan as cosine squared over sine squared. And then I simplify it just like I would anything else. I can cancel out one of my sines. So that gives me sine of x plus cosine squared of x over sine of x. Then I can get a common denominator, because this is really over 1. Anytime I'm adding fractions, I have to get a common denominator. So my common denominator would be sine. This one stays the same, cosine squared. I multiply the bottom by sine. Anything I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. So that's going to be sine squared. This is an identity here. Sine squared plus cosine squared is 1. 1 over sine is cosecant, and I have simplified it. And that's your goal, is to get it down as far as you possibly can. Let's look at this one. This one is 1 over sine minus cosine is just cosine. Cosine over sine. Well, this is the same thing as 1 over sine minus cosine squared over sine. 1 minus cosine squared. That is sine squared. Where am I getting this from? Right there. 1 minus cosine squared is sine squared. These identities need to be committed to memory. At first, you're just going to be looking on your sheet and trying to figure them out, but eventually they need to be memorized. And then sine squared over sine, I can cancel one of my sines, and my answer is sine. Okay? Here's another one that says simplify the expression sine cubed plus sine squared cosine squared. Can I factor out a sine? And that leaves me with sine squared plus cosine squared. Sine squared plus cosine squared is 1, which is just sine times 1 is just sine. Okay, let's look at example 5. We'll do A and then we'll stop this video. I can FOIL this out. This is a difference of two squareds. It's going to be secant squared minus 1 over sine squared. Well, secant squared minus 1 is tangent squared. So that's tangent squared divided by sine squared. I can rewrite tan as sine squared over cosine squared divided by sine squared. Well, that's the same as sine squared over cosine squared times 1 over sine squared. Those cancel. I'm left with 1 over cosine squared, which is the same as secant squared. Done.